Hello everyone, this is Mason Beam with the Wise News Network, and today what I've got for you is a report on the impacts of roaming dogs on a community. Our reporter Grace Smith sat down with members of the Gaston County Animal Care and Enforcement Shelter, as well as Paola Hayes from the Animal Welfare Alliance of Rutherford. Both of these organizations have witnessed a dramatic increase in the amount of roaming dogs in their respective counties. The problem faced by each indicates a larger national trend. Join us as we delve into the causes for roaming dogs as well as potential solutions. But before I let y'all go, I want to let everyone know that all the dogs seen in this video were available for adoption at the time of filming. Some may already have homes at this point, but if you're looking to provide a forever home yourself, then be sure to check the links below the video. Without further ado, let's get to it.
We don't personally track those statistics, but I can tell you that viewing on Facebook posts and calls we get and messages we get, there seems to be an increase, at least within the last year, specifically, that we've really kind of noticed an increase in, I don't know if it's actual numbers that are roaming or an increase in the concern of it, but there's definitely an increase in awareness and in calls and messages we're getting about it. It's hard to say specifically because our county does not track strays and intakes to that degree. But I think part of it nationally is due to COVID ending. People got a lot of dogs while they were home from COVID. And now that people are going back to work, dogs are getting returned or released, or people's financial situations have changed. They're not able to take care of them as they were before. So there's a number of reasons why we think this could be happening, but whatever the reason, the result is just not good.
I think based on our intake of stray animals that's come into the shelter, most definitely. Yeah, our intake has increased and compared to previous years, with this last year being the greatest.
I mean, they probably belong to somebody. Sometimes they are just escapees that got out from someone's yard, or, because we live in such a rural area, roaming dogs and stray dogs are pretty common. It's just, I think, part of the culture where everyone lives so far apart, so it's not really a bother. But in the more populated areas like Belmont, it's definitely more uncommon. But yeah, I would say that we're the only shelter in Gaston County, so we receive all of the roaming dogs and all the stray animals that come in. So,
and as compared to like our owner surrenders and other animals that are entering the shelter, our stray population is most definitely the highest.
Well, roaming dogs in general present a number of concerns. In particular, they can carry disease, not only to humans, but to other animals, to wildlife. They can create problems with other domestic animals, fighting with other dogs, other pets, livestock. They present a huge problem to livestock. I had a message just recently about a couple dogs killing a lady's goats. Chickens, dogs don't know boundaries, right? So they don't know when one property ends and the other begins. They also pose a problem in terms of wildlife. Dogs, in fact, are one of the bigger killers of wildlife, of human-introduced predators, second to cats and rats. And they also present an expense to the county. The United States spends about $2 billion a year handling, collecting, housing, euthanizing homeless pets. And in our county, a huge part of animal control's time is spent finding strays and trying to figure out who they belong to, rounding them up. They also present a problem to people. We've had a number of attacks from roaming dogs on people, on children. It's something that cannot be overlooked because it's a problem not just for the community, but also for the dog. Dogs are not safe roaming. They can get hit by cars. They present a concern to traffic. They can get in fights. They can get killed by coyotes. They can get shot. They can get diseases. There's nothing beneficial to a roaming dog, and it's something that needs to be addressed because it's only getting worse.
I would say, I mean, probably Gastonia, just because people in Gastonia know where we're located. A lot of people don't even know that the animal shelter exists. Unfortunately, that it's not that that information isn't public. A lot of people will come in and say, "I didn't know that you guys existed." So it just is one of those things where whenever your county or your city, your town is so far removed, um, it can be difficult whenever here we're the center of everything, but whenever you're not nearby, we may not be as publicized.
Well, it sounds like a broken record, but we always recommend spaying and neutering your pet. A spayed or neutered dog is less likely to want to roam. And if your pet is spayed and neutered and at home, it's going to attract less roaming dogs to them. Additionally, of course, microchipping. If your dog does get out accidentally, that's the best way for them to be returned to you. But also just recognize that a dog does not really need to be roaming free. Unless you have a fenced area, dogs don't know boundaries. Take them for a walk. They benefit not just from the walk, but from the interaction with you, as opposed to just letting them off to go do their own thing where they can get in trouble when they're unattended.
So we recommend if you do lose your animal to go on social media. A lot of times people will post. There's lots of lost and found groups. You just have to seek out and do research. If you are wanting to look at the animal shelter, we have our website that you can go on. We post pictures of all the animals that come in as soon as they come in. And our phone number is 704-922-8677. I'll say it again, 704-922-8677.
Call animal control is always number one. They may or may not be able to do anything if they're not there when they show up. If the dog, of course, you never know if the dog's going to be friendly or not. If they seem friendly and safe and you're able to contain them safely, that's helpful in animal control, being able to catch the dog or return it to their owner. And then, of course, keep your pet safe indoors unless you're out supervising them.
I think safety is the number one thing. So approaching an animal you don't know, you need to be very cautious so that you don't get bit or hurt in any way. If it's an animal you recognize, obviously you could reach out to those owners and let them know, hey, your dog's here at my house. But then the next step is obviously contacting animal care and enforcement, and we have road specialists who come out to sort of canvass the area and try and help find the owners. And if we can't find the owners, then unfortunately they do end up being brought here to the shelter. I mean, being aware and acclimating, like if you move from a different area, animals want to be at home. And so, if you're moving from one location to another, make sure you acclimate your animal. On leash is the best because you never know how they're going to react. If, there's a loud noise that happens suddenly, they can run off. And just, making them feel at home in their new home. But then also make sure you microchip your animals. That is one of the number one ways for us to be able to locate the owners and reunite them with their owners. Make sure there's good collar. You have collars that are fit appropriately so that, if they do get scared, they're not able to jerk out of their collars. Use good sturdy leashes. I know a lot of people love those leashes that run out and allow animals, but those actually, you have very little control. And so getting a good solid leash is most definitely something to consider. Make sure you have tags with identification on them if you don't have a microchip. But microchip would be the number one. I would try, if you're in an area, a populated area, I wouldn't let your animal go off leash. That's just the safest thing. Now, if you're, if you have plenty of land and it's fenced in and you can contain your animal, that's a different story. But keeping them on leash most definitely gives you control because you never know what's going to happen. You may have the best trained dog, that listens and something, spook them and cause them to act out of normal, and they'll just run off. We are constantly overpopulated here at the shelter. I mean, and it's sad for all of us. Our jobs are not easy. Yes, we get to work with animals every day, which does bring joy, but it's also heartache, because when we don't have space, we have a service we have to provide for the community. And when we don't have space, then it makes our job hard, because we have to make very difficult decisions. And a lot of those decisions are made on animals that are very good. They're friendly. We don't want to euthanize, but unfortunately, when we're put in the position where you have so many animals in the community that don't have a home and people are wanting to bring them here, we have no other choice but to do that. And so, preventing roaming and stray animals most definitely would help us.
We definitely have our foster program that's grown over the last probably year and a half. With having fosters, they're able to help us temporarily relieve the stress that we have here and be able to help the dogs who need to come in. So they're able to get us information for potential adopters, how they do at home, how they've done with their family. So it, in the long run, helps us to be able to provide that information so they potentially get adopted sooner.
I think adding to that would be, adoptions. If you're looking for an animal or you want a companion for your current animals, I think Laura could speak a little bit on the adoption process and what we require here to adopt an animal.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So we do have an application. You would have to be approved. We typically check that you own your home, that all pets are up to date on veterinary care, and we would require, if you have a dog, that they would meet the dog that you would want to adopt to make sure that they get along well in the home. And we do offer staycations, 3-day staycations. That way, if you don't want to make that full-on commitment, you want to see how things would go in the home, you could do that before deciding, just because we want to see them go to a good home rather than being here at the shelter.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Is there anything else anybody would like to add?
We try whenever we can to speak to people. We've given a couple talks, town halls, and I gave a talk to the Kiwanis Club addressing not just roaming dogs, but just animal welfare in general, and roaming dogs being one of those factors and how it affects our community. And then, of course, always pushing that spay-neuter. We are hoping to start working with the health department once they officially take over the animal control functions in rewriting the ordinances to help improve the rules and the enforcement of them. And of course, just continuing to talk with leadership and law enforcement into how we can make the county a better place for animals as a whole and our community.
As all of the experts mentioned in the interviews, small acts of responsible ownership can significantly relieve the pressure on shelters and animal rights organizations. Microchip your pets and make sure they have secure leashes and collars before taking them out. Another way you can help is by checking out the Adoptable Dogs page for the Gaston County Animal Shelter. They have several furry friends available for adoption or fostering, so if you're looking for a companion, this is the perfect place to look. And as always, guys, if you want to see more like this, be sure to give our socials a look. And if you're enjoying what you see, drop down below and give us a like. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our homepage, wisenewsnetwork.com, where you can read all of our articles, including the one for this video. Well, that's all for today, and thanks for watching. This has been Mason Beam with the Wise News Network.